if you are starting a YouTube channel to make money, don't bother. Don't bother unless you have the patience of Job, because the chances are you're probably never going to make money directly from YouTube. Now, you might make it like I do from other sources. I make very little off of my YouTube videos, but I make a very good living using those videos as marketing tools to bring money in.
Tim is an amazing individual. He's a digital entrepreneur. He's a podcast host. He's a video creator, ghostwriter, author, overall hooligan and fun person. Did I leave anything out, Tim?
You know, you make it sound like I can't hold a job.
Yeah. Hey,
which is true.
Welcome to the club, brother.
Yep, that's why I became an entrepreneur. Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, I announce to you, I welcome to you, fantastic guest. You're going to love this show. Mr. Tim Knox. Tim, how are you doing today, my friend?
I am doing good, my friend, and I have to apologize. It was my fault we were late because my webcam wasn't working. Everything was
terrific.
You know, I looked a beautiful shade of blue, and I knew, knowing you as I do, I would never live it down.
No, you wouldn't. No, I had my Smurf jokes lined up. I had my Smurf jokes. I had my X-ray jokes.
Hey, you look a little cold there, Tim. You're blue. Why are you so blue?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go ahead. Hey, Robert. Trouble here. Yeah, exactly. Good to see you, Robert. So I'm going to go ahead and share this out, Tim. Go ahead and tell our Nez Nation audience a little bit more about who you are, what you do specifically. Let them know a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. I am I guess you call a serial entrepreneur. I have been in a variety of businesses going on, 25, 30 years now. Started out, came from a very poor family, did not go to college, started working full-time at the age of 14, eventually became an entrepreneur because I was basically unemployable. I without having a college degree here in where I live, it's a very large NASA Army degree, that sort of thing. So I started my own business. My very first business about 30 years ago was a graphic design business. When the internet came around, that turned into a website design company, and then it turned into a software company, and eventually sold that company and went off and wrote a few books and did some speaking. And I retired for about 20 minutes, and my wife went, "You need to get your ass off the couch." So started a variety of online businesses, did internet marketing for many years, was in the retail industry for a number of years. I owned a chain of gun stores, which is a whole nother story unto itself. So
Jesus Christ, is there anything you haven't done?
You know what? There's very little I haven't done, but primarily right now for the last couple of years, I have a company called Knox Publishing, and nice. I'm a writer and editor. I work with a lot of other authors getting their books into shape and helping them get published. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. We said this on the show yesterday, Nez. Anything for a buck is what I will do. So if it's a fair wage,
I love how you're so authentic and transparent about that.
You're
not shameful at all about that.
Let me tell you something. The background where I came from, you were not afraid of hard work, and I still am not today. So
yeah, I actually love that. I think so many people in any business, not necessarily just online marketing or digital entrepreneurship, I love to help people, and I love to and I'm a special snowflake, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I think it has to start with some type of, hey, Erica, hey, Tim, hey, Robert, hey, Didar. I think it has to start. Didar, yes, Didar is here. Absolutely. So I think it has to start. By the way, Tim, you can share this out. Go ahead and share this to Tube Ritual and other things on your screen. I think you have to have that specific intention. I think if that intention is coming from a place that is who you are, whether that is somebody who's just in it for a buck, or whether that's somebody who is a storyteller or loves to inspire or what have you. Right. But I love how Gord's in the house. April Roga. Guys, please share this out. Leave some comments. Leave some questions. We got an amazing guest. Thank you, Didar. We got an amazing guest with us today. But I love how, Tim, you're very upfront and there's no BS. One of the reasons why I loved connecting with you, to be honest, brother, and loved having you and feel honored to have you on the show in all seriousness. I love your candor. I love your straightforward directness. And I think that is absolutely essential in this business, because your word is everything. Robert says, Tim's going to name drop today. Tim, you going to name drop today?
I was talking to Aristotle the other day, and I'm like, is that toga comfortable?
Yeah, exactly.
No, Robert, no name dropping.
No, today it's Socrates. It's Socrates,
Gotcha.
otherwise known as Socrates. Anyway, no. So I wanted to. We were kind of joking around a little bit, Tim. I want you to kind of talk about this. And by the way, guys, please share this out and make sure that if you have any questions, I am monitoring the comments. April says, just had to come say hello. We'll definitely watch and comment on the replay. Thank you, April. April probably has a real job to go to. But speaking of this, and what a perfect segue, talking about being unemployable. I just got off with a client earlier this morning. He is in marketing. He's in sales. And I was helping him look at his sort of portfolio. And he, was talking about how he's kind of adverse to this whole social media thing, this whole online thing. And he made it sound like he's a Gen Xer, but he made it sound like he was born in the 20s or something. I don't get this whole social media thing. I don't get, I'm not into it. I'm not into it, was his response. And thank you, Erica. Thank you for joining. And the same thing with Alex Kahn. When I had Alex Kahn on Tuesday, he talks to his clients all the time, and they're kind of this sort of mentality, this mindset of this digital thing, this internet thing. I don't understand it. And here was a guy who was around my age, just a young dude, who was not into it. How do you have that problem too, Tim? And what do you think of this whole internet thing? What do you think of social media, and why, and how it complements being unemployable?
Yeah, I love how you say, what do you think about this internet thing?
What do you think of this internet thing? In my day,
it's like my mom. My mom's like, are you on the internets?
Oh my God, Tim, when I get a text message from my dad, it's a absolute jigsaw puzzle, especially an email.
Totally. No, you and I have kind of talked about this in the past. If you are going to be in business, I don't care what your business is, whether it's selling guns or selling T-shirts or Kindle publishing or podcasting, it doesn't matter.
Right.
The business doesn't matter. If you don't have an online presence, even if it's just a blog, or as we say here in Alabama, a blog, you've got to have that presence, because that's where customers look. You remember the Yellow Pages, Nez? Remember that big honking book that was about this thick? Yeah. You know what? If you ask my daughter, who's 21, what the Yellow Pages is, she has no idea.
Right.
And it's simply because everything is moving online. I did a video on this a while back, talking about how the things that we do today, we were not doing 5 or 10 years ago as business people.
Right.
Now we are pretty much completely online. You communicate almost totally online. You look for leads, you get your customers. A lot of businesses actually provide the product or service online. So these business people, these entrepreneurs, and I'm doing the finger quote here, who don't understand the internet or think it is a flash in the pan, those are the ones that are going to get left behind.
Yep.
And, you and I talked about this the other day. I remember I do entrepreneurial training. I've had probably 10,000 students in the last 7 or 8 years. And in every class, there's always an entrepreneur who comes up to me and says, do I really need a website?
Oh my God.
And so to me, that's like saying, do I need a business card? Do I need marketing? Because
do I need a title for my business? Yes.
Do I have to name this business, or can I just call it Tim's Guns? But the
not a bad title, actually.
Yeah. Well, my stores were called Madison Guns. So it was,
perfect.
And there's a story behind that as well. And I can tell that in a little bit, how to name that business. But you have to put yourself in your customer's place. Again, I don't care what you're selling. Where do your customers go to look for you? If I'm going to order a pizza, I go online. I have bought cars online. I have bought houses online. Here's I'm in Alabama. I cut down a tree. I needed someone to come out and grind my stump. And that's not a euphemism for something else, Nez. I literally needed this guy.
You knew where I was headed. You knew where I was headed.
And so I go on Google and I type in stump grinder, Madison, Alabama. And I find this guy who I immediately click to call him. He's out here within the hour. And he's this older gentleman, but he told me, he goes, he said, well, how did you find me? And I said, well, I Googled you. He goes, you'd be surprised how much business we get off that Google. And I'm like, No,
Right.
no, I wouldn't. I'm shocked that you don't get more. So, and I also want to address something else you said a minute ago about, my transparency with the fact that I like to make money.
Mm.
I like to eat.
Hello.
I like to live in this nice house and drive my nice car. I've got 10 dogs that I have to feed.
My God. God bless you, sir.
You will never hear me be bashful about making money.
I love that.
And,
I love that.
Yeah. And it's just, if you're starting a business for, if you want to save the planet or help your fellow man, that's great.
There's
Do
nothing wrong with
that.
that.
But at the end of the day, if you send a note to Wells Fargo and say, I'm making my house payment based on good intentions, you know what Wells
Beautiful.
Fargo is going to do?
Beautiful.
You're going to repossess your house.
I love that.
So if you're an entrepreneur and you are not focusing on making money, don't focus on the money, but focus on making the money.
Results.
You're not going to be in business very long.
I love that,
Step off
Tim.
my soapbox.
I love that. No, that was brilliant. I love that. And something I try to advocate to my students all the time. I'm going to have you put it in those terms, come to one of my classes.
I might scare your
Robert
students.
and Gord. Gord has a great question, and so does Robert. Gord says, does Tim use any social media advertising to generate leads? Good to see you, Gord. And then Robert says, Robert has a great question too. I want to get to that. Do you use any well, before we get to social media advertising, I just want to say this, Gord, great question. I'm going to get to that. I just literally before this interview, I had a client meeting, okay, generating dollar bills, right? Not a shit ton, but I mean, it's about, doing what I can do. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting in my studio. I'm sitting at home, generating leads. I'm talking to somebody who's on the other side of the planet. Mm-hmm. I'm able to make transactions. The point of what I think, if I can piggyback on what Tim was saying, if you're not going into the digital space, the digital ecosystem, if you're not entering into this realm, you're missing out. There's zero overhead. I have zero overhead practically. The barrier to entry is zero. The connectability, the ease, the accessibility is insanely convenient. Who is not into convenience? Who is not into connecting on a dime? I mean, right. Without, just a click of a button, and everything's automated now. I mean, we're living in an unbelievable era. I try to tell my students all the time. So I love what you said, Tim. And yeah, do you want to take this one,
yeah.
Tim? Do you use any social media advertising to generate leads?
I use social media. I don't use social media advertising simply because I don't have to at the moment. Now, I know a lot of people who do, and I firmly believe in social media advertising. Advertising in general is one of those things that if you don't know what you're doing, you can waste a ton of money and get no return on investment. Right. So if someone asks me about, should I advertise on Facebook or this, I'm like, well, do you know how? Have you read a book? So what I do, because of what I do, is I very much believe in the power of the network, even online. Okay. The majority of my business in my publishing company comes from online, and it comes not from advertising, but from things that I do, like my YouTube channel, like the stuff that I do with you, Nez, like my Facebook, the social media, but also from my network of people who I have met online. Yep. One of my best business partners that I make tens of thousands of dollars with every year is a guy who lives in Beverly Hills that I have never met face to face. We met online. We met on Twitter, not Match.com, but on Twitter.
Not Tinder?
Yeah, not Tinder. That's a reach all the way to LA. But we just started chatting, and we were in kind of a similar space. And now 3 years later, we're best friends. We are business partners. We talk 2 or 3 times a week, but I've never met him in person ever. Right. But I would probably bank 60 or 70 grand this year off of business that he brings me, and vice versa. So I'm very big on the power of advertising. I'm even bigger on the power of connecting. Yep. And to me, connections are more important than networking, because networking really just kind of connotates, okay, there's a group of people, you go around, you shake some hands, you network. Connecting is where you meet those people and you find out what you have in common and you connect. Yep. And you do things like you and I think we met through Brian's group on Facebook.
Never met in person.
Yeah. We've never met in person.
Same with Gord and Robert watching.
And now
Tim Longfellow. I think Tim Longfellow's in the house too.
And now you and I are doing a show that we're about to launch. We have this we have a love-hate relationship.
I was going to tell them about it later.
We have a love-hate relationship that my ex-wife is jealous of because
Who, me and you?
Up until I met you, she was the nastiest person I met. And I'm like, oh no. Oh, let me tell you,
nothing.
You be late for a telecast. You're going to see ugly.
You haven't seen anything yet. Yeah. I'm just getting started, Tim. I'm just getting started.
I know you are.
Gord could probably attest to that.
I'm sitting here going, God, would you shut up while I plug this in? But anyway, no, I don't do a lot of advertising. I used to back in the day, but I have always found, my greatest advertising is my content that I put out. If you go to my YouTube channel, I have my rant channel, which is my comedy channel, but then I also have a Kindle Direct Publishing channel and I have an authorship channel. I've got a couple of hundred videos. I get contacts and leads every day from the Kindle channel from people wanting me to help them with their book.
That's
so
awesome.
I think if you can get your non-paid advertising in place, and it's more marketing than advertising, I have work booked out through almost the end of the year and I've done no advertising to get it, but I market myself a lot. And that goes back to the thing that you were talking about, Pete, about, people, they are kind of ashamed that they're making money. A lot of people are ashamed to blow their own horn.
Yep.
Now, you and I, oh my God, I can't think of two more shameless promoters than me and you. I
think I'm a lot more humbler than you are.
PT Barnum is rolling over in his grave going, that son of a bitch is good. Holy cow, but you and I are so good at promoting.
Tim, is this too much? Is this a bit too much?
It's just
a little too much.
but you and I both talk to people all the time that are they don't have the confidence to get out there and put themselves out. And,
right.
If you're going to be in business, especially an online business, which is primarily a visual medium, you got to have the nerve to get out there. And it's just, it's something you're born with, but I think it's something you can develop as well. So don't be afraid of making money. Don't be shy. If people ask, are you making money online? Go, hell yeah. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there. If you don't toot your own horn, nobody else will.
Absolutely.
Bam.
Amen to that. All right. Mic drop. Tim says, LOL. Wait, hold on a second. I wanted to get to Robert has a really great question. Mm-hmm. And I think that this can really encompass not only what Tim and I are working on, we're working on an awesome project that I'm super excited about. And again, just to sort of, if I may, just to sort of compliment and, really support what Tim was saying. I've never met Tim face to face, never met him in person.
But I feel
like it's a good thing. Hence why I have all my teeth. But I mean, like literally, I feel like he's a brother. I mean, I feel like I'm not saying that, loosely. I mean, really, we've laughed, we've cried, we've had fun, we've gotten serious, we've already gotten mad at each other about 10 times. I mean, it's a sibling, and I've never met him in person, and I'm excited to connect with him through digital contexts, through a Facebook group that we love. Our Tube Ritual group is amazing. Maybe I'll have Gord write the, Tina's in the house. Hey, Tina, good to see you. All right. Awesome. Thank you, Tina. Tina's a great live streamer. But so just amazing era that we're living in. Robert, I haven't forgotten you. What is Tim's definition? I know I have a definition of this too. The term entrepreneur is thrown around so much. I agree. I would like to hear Tim's definition of what an entrepreneur is. Tim?
Who asked that question?
Robert Stern.
Good question, Robert Stern.
It's a great question.
Let me tell you a little story. When my youngest daughter, who is now 21, when she was 4 or 5, I think first grade, they had career day at school. And and basically it's where the parent comes and talks a little bit about their job. And so she wants me, Daddy, will you come? And I'm like, oh, you're so freaking cute. Of course. And so she said, well, Daddy, what do you do? And I said, well, sweetie, I'm an entrepreneur. And she's like, what's that? And I go, that's someone who starts and runs businesses. And so career day came and I was 3rd or 4th. There was a fireman and a lawyer. And so the kid has to get up in front of the room and introduce the parent. And so Sierra, the most adorable little girl you've ever seen, goes up to the front of the room and she goes, that's my daddy. I don't know what he does, but he's an entrepreneur.
That's great.
It's a smell of success.
Great. Oh, that's beautiful, man.
But
That's beautiful.
to me, entrepreneur is nothing more than a fancy French word for someone who is willing to take the risk and execute their idea for a business.
Love it.
And if you look up
the
textbook definition is someone who starts and runs and takes on the financial responsibility of a business. To me, an entrepreneur, the guy that's here cutting my grass, he is an entrepreneur. The kid who delivers newspapers, he's an entrepreneur. You know, there's so many different kinds of entrepreneurs now, but the one thing that you need to understand is you have entrepreneurs and you have business owners. They're not always the same thing. A business owner is someone who starts a business, runs a business, grows that business, and is happy every day to get out of bed and go to that business until they die or they sell it and they pass it on. That's a business owner. Yeah. An entrepreneur is someone who does that repeatedly. Someone who, I think the key word for an entrepreneur is vision and opportunity. You know this, Nez. You and I both have multiple businesses, but we're always on the lookout for the next thing.
Absolutely.
And so that, to me, an entrepreneur is a business owner with vision and always looking for opportunity. And
they also innovate the culture too. I mean, Steve Jobs was an entrepreneur, even though he got fired from his own company. But I mean, and I'm not, believe me, I'm not comparing myself to Steve Jobs, but these people like the Zuckerbergs, the Jobs, you know, the Flynn from Google, all these people, you know, who they have a vision, they have a purpose. Bill Gates, you know, Warren Buffett, they change things, they change the culture. Everybody and their mother has a smartphone device, and if it wasn't for the iPhone, that wouldn't have happened. If it wasn't for vision.
Here is one way to tell if you're an entrepreneur. If you have a business idea and no one can talk you out of it, if it keeps you awake at night, you know in your head this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and you are willing to bet the farm on that idea, you're either an entrepreneur or a fool. It's a very fine line.
Yeah.
But here, you know, and that's the thing. If you are an entrepreneur, you are willing to put up everything to see your vision become a reality. And sometimes that can be to your own detriment, because I've done a lot of entrepreneurial coaching for the Chamber of Commerce here for many years. And I cannot tell you how often someone has come in with a grand idea. And once they tell me the idea and I start asking, okay, have you done your homework? Have you done the research? You know, being an entrepreneur is risky, but it should be mitigated risk. It doesn't mean, you know, I have never been to Vegas gambling. You will never see me at a poker. I work too hard for my money. I'm not going to risk my money at a gambling table, but I'll put $500,000 into a new gun store. The risk is there, but I have mitigated the risk by doing my homework, doing the research, that sort of thing. Funny story, in one of my classes, I always go around the room and I ask people, you know, why are you in this entrepreneur class? What do you want to learn? And then this one guy, he says, well, I'm here just to learn how to raise money. And I'm like,
just to raise money? Is that
just to raise, yeah.
Okay.
He says, I've got an idea, but I want people to invest money in it. And I said, well, how much money are you willing to invest? And he goes, oh, I'm not going to risk my money. And so I said, well, let me get this straight. You want other people to give you money to risk, but you will not risk your, oh no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't risk I'm like, my friend, you're not an entrepreneur and you don't get a refund. You can leave, you know, so that's the deal. You know, we're entrepreneurs, be it online or off, we are a different breed. We're wired a little differently. And that's a good thing, because, you know, entrepreneurs are what make this country go round.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they do. I really do. I think they innovate, they create jobs, they inspire others. And also, to me, you know, it also equals freedom. I mean, coming from academia, and Erica Bowling was here earlier. I interviewed her.
I saw that. Good show.
The other night. She is just an absolute pistol. And when I mean pistol in the most beautiful, complimentary way, she is gung-ho about what she wants to do in her coaching business, her client business, and she's making money. She's doing really, really well. I'm learning a lot from her. Freedom. You know,
can I say one thing about
Erica? Please. But you're on fire.
Well, it's
literally,
Alabama.
Get an extinguisher.
The thing about Erica, when I was listening to that show, believe it or not, Nez, I actually watched your show that night.
No, you didn't.
I did. She started out an academic, but then she developed a skill with, I believe she was a dog trainer, that people then wanted her to teach.
Yep.
And that is the best way to start a business. When you've got potential customers asking you to do things for them. And then she has morphed into an excellent entrepreneur. You know, now Erica could go do any business she so desired because she has learned through doing all of those skills. You know, I don't know if entrepreneurs are born or made. I think they're more, it's a combination of both. I think Erica had the entrepreneurial spark, and now she has made herself into an excellent entrepreneur. And
it's what you, it's what you said. It's that, I mean, you know, we need a lot of people on this planet. We need people who are willing to be the so-called workers. We need workers. We need people who can do the things that maybe don't require, and I'm not putting, believe me, I'm not putting entrepreneurs or on this pedestal or anything like that, even though I do support them and I love it. But the people who, it's like what you said, Tim, you said, see the opportunity, not only see it, feel it, imbibe it, and go after it. That's huge. A lot of people will have opportunities come and go all day long. They don't follow it. Well, that would have been a good idea. Well, maybe I could have done, but that's not the same thing. Tina says, I think another difference between entrepreneur and business owner is that quite often entrepreneurs are looking to innovate, build a foundation, and then hand it over to someone else to do the day-to-day. Business owners usually build and run their business until they either retire or go out of business. Interesting point, Tina. Thank you so much.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Can I say something else along those lines?
Of course.
Because I love
you.
that.
This is your show. This is your show, Tim.
Oh, is it? Well, I'm going to sing a little song for you now.
No, don't do that. Cut, producer, cut.
One thing that, I mean, that's such a good point that Tina makes is, you know, entrepreneurs are innovators. If you look at every invention, every innovation made over the last, gosh, they spent 50 to 100 years. Most have been entrepreneurial. Now, some of them, like, you know, the Post-it note happened in a lab by mistake, but most things started because someone had an idea and the ability to execute that idea. And that's where a lot of people fall down as entrepreneurs. They may have a great idea, but it's the execution. You know, you hear all of these statistics about why businesses fail. In my opinion, businesses fail not because of a lack of funds or a lack of planning or anything, a lack of customers. Businesses fail because the entrepreneur fails to plan across all of those things.
Love it.
They don't plan for the downtimes and the good. They don't plan for the financials. And I think that's why so many businesses go under. But you got to remember the flip side of that statistic. If 70% of businesses go under within the first year, that means 30% survived.
Yep.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Well, you know, it's pretty damn good. And even out of those 30% over the next 5 years, 50 to 70% are going to fail, but still you have a lot of businesses that make it. And here's what makes the entrepreneur different from the business owner. When we fall down and bust our ass, we get right back up and go at it. You know, I do not know
which happens a lot, by the way.
It happens a lot because we are the ones out there that are taking the risk.
And I think that's what you meant earlier, Tim, about having that thick skin, being willing to go out. I think there's a lot of commencement speeches happening right now. People are graduating, and I've been hearing a nice, cool common denominator. You need to be willing to fail. You need to be willing to fall fast. Down. Fail fast. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's the thing. What I was going to say is I don't know any successful entrepreneur who has not failed. Some have failed dramatically. You know, bankruptcies. Donald Trump, our president, I think he's declared bankruptcy 3 or 4 times. Milton Hershey. You ever had a Hershey bar? Went bankrupt early on. Walt Disney. You know who Walt Disney is now?
Oh, he's awesome.
Walt Disney was not hired by a newspaper in San Francisco because they said he lacked creativity. Are you kidding me? Walt Disney? So that's the thing.
That's like saying Tim and Professor Nez lack an ego.
Oh, I have to move over. Here it comes.
Tina says entrepreneurs expect failure. Very good, Tina. Yes, she says entrepreneurs.
You know, that's a good point. We expect it, but we plan for it.
Yep.
You know, when I started my very first retail store years ago, I mean, I did research for a year before I decided on opening that store. I would sit next to the highway and watch traffic patterns. And
Wow.
I would sit in strip malls and watch foot traffic. And you know why I did that, Tina? Because I expected to fail. But the more knowledge I had in here about, why are there not people going in that shopping center, but they're going in here? Why is which side of the road should I be on? I expect to fail because that's just the risk of business, but I'm going to do all of this research and do all of these things that are going to help me avoid that failure. And it's a lot of what entrepreneurship is avoiding failure.
I love that. And Tim mentions Thomas Edison. If I may, just really quickly, Thomas Edison, not only was he the inventor. Name drop. Oh, here we go. Here's Aristotle. I'm going to name drop like a mother right now.
All right.
But JP Morgan saw electricity. Everything was Standard Oil. Everything was kerosene with Rockefeller, right? Before Thomas Edison said, hey, wait a minute, we can light up homes with this electric current and put it through people's homes. Everybody thought he was nuts.
Yeah.
Except for JP Morgan. JP Morgan said you could be onto something. His father, JP Morgan's father, who owned the entire estate, all the businesses, said, if you do this, I'm going to disown you as a father. You're not going to be my son. JP Morgan said, I'm sorry, Dad. I believe in this wholeheartedly. And guess what? Where the hell would we be? I wouldn't be able to talk to Tim right now. Where would we be without electricity?
We'd be talking in the dark.
Maybe that's not a bad idea. So I mean, it's unbelievable, that opportunity, seeing it, believing it. And I love what you said, Tim. It keeps you up at night. I mean, JP Morgan, imagine if your father, pretty much one of the most powerful people on the entire planet, was saying to you, this is a dumb idea. He's not supporting you. You support electricity. I'm going to disown you. And he went all in, and again, you can say a lot of bad things about these people too. Robert says, okay, name dropping update. Tim 1, Aristotle, Nez 2, Edison, and JP Morgan. Okay. I'm winning the name dropping.
I said Walt Disney.
Hey, Michael, good to see you, Michael. Yeah. He did say Hershey. He dropped a couple of names. So yeah, I mean, this is, and a lot of people can say, oh, business people, there's no create. I mean, I'm an artist. I'm an artist. My first business yeah, exactly.
was a design company. But you know what? I was an artist who likes to eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't want to be a starving artist.
I love to eat.
I could probably use some starving though with my spare tire. I could probably use a little starving. Okay, fantastic stuff. So Tim, do you want to tell these guys a little bit about how you got into video creation and what you're doing with video? I mean, you talked a little bit about your Kindle channel, which is awesome, getting leads.
Thank you.
And maybe we can segue. By the way, guys, we're still taking questions. I love the comments. Great stuff. Tina, Erica, Gord, Michael, Robert, you guys are awesome. Tim, thank you so much. Do you want to, we can kind of segue into our show that we're planning, our kind of podcast / YouTube, and maybe they could get a little taste of this. Tell us a little bit about your kind of content strategy, if you will, your video creation, sort of how you go about doing that.
Sure. I've been doing video online for, 10 years. I started my YouTube account the year it came out, but primarily.
Oh, did you really? Cool.
I did. I think I've been on
2005,
YouTube since 2005. Yeah.
Wow.
And the reason was I was doing a lot of speaking then. I had sold my business. I had written a best-selling book and I was touring the country speaking. And when you are in the speaking industry, you need video because that's how various booking agents see you. They want to see you speak before they book you. So I initially opened a YouTube account just to post my speaking videos. And it's kind of funny. You can go to my channel and see, you can see me with dark hair and a dark beard from, on stage in 2005 in Nashville. So that got me interested in video. And back then, you got to remember, this was about 10 years ago. So we didn't have these fancy schmancy streaming and webcams, and it was incredibly difficult back then to do streaming. So we would just record videos and put those online. So I also did a lot of television. I was the business analyst for the CBS station here, and I wanted to put that video online. And again, it's on my YouTube channel, and Jesus, I look young. It's amazing.
Hey, Robert says Tim has been on video since Aristotle told him to go for it.
You know what? I remember I was thinking about about getting in video, and JP Morgan's dad comes by.
Oh God,
And,
here we go.
He's like, no, but anyway, what I have done is I've always used, and now more so because it's so easy to do, is I've used audio and video. I do the audio podcast as well, just to get my content out there. Right. Now, right now, primarily YouTube is my #1 marketing tool because it is the #2 website on the planet, the #2 search engine. So I've got my comedy channel. I just did one this morning on all of these airline flights and fights and that sort of thing.
Right.
But I've got my comedy channel.
I saw that.
You got to watch it. It's funny.
Yeah, I watched about 5 seconds of it, then
48
turned it
seconds.
off.
But then I
got bored after 10 seconds.
I got to go. My yard guy wants to go have a coffee. Anyway, I've got my Kindle channel, and then I've got my miscellaneous channel, which has all of my speaking videos, all of my old television. But what I do now primarily is use this as a platform to get out my content.
Yep.
And just like you, I mean, 5 years ago, Nez, you couldn't have had a talk show on the internet because technology just wasn't there.
I love it.
Now, anyone with an internet connection and a laptop can go online and do that. So,
and this is something I want to ask you, actually,
sure.
Tim, too. Robert says Tim doesn't know this, but I was a subscriber to his channel back in 2007.
Oh, I'm so you're the guy.
Boy, you're the guy. Hey, Robert, I have just one piece of advice. Get a new hobby. No, I'm kidding.
I had one subscriber. Robert used to sit by the computer going,
up the voltage, Robert.
You
up
think
the voltage.
He'll upload today? Is it going to upload? Hey, Robert,
there's plenty of other channels out there. Trust me. No,
send me your address, Robert, and if you're in the continental United States, I'll send you a book.
Look at that face.
I look like a freaking 12.
I mean, you look like Beaver. I mean,
hard to believe this was a best-selling book. Yes.
Yes.
Tiny.
In Sudan.
My mom. Oh, I've got versions in every language. I'm very popular with the Vietnamese for some reason.
Now, if that doesn't make it to your epitaph, that should be your epitaph. That's your epitaph. I have a stack of
books over here from Korea, Vietnam.
Oh, I love it.
And what's the other foreign country? Mississippi. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So this is something I want to ask you on all kidding aside, Tim, because I get this question all the time from clients, and I love how we're transparent about our desire to make this a living and sure. monetizing. Do you think, now I love it. I know you do too. I love video creation. I love creating videos on YouTube. It's always been a dream of mine to have a talk show. This isn't new to anybody. Let me ask you, do you think you have to start with the passion, or is that even important? Like, do you have to, or is this something just purely monetarily based, something that your desire to leverage and your desire to strategically go about it supersedes that? What's more important to Tim Knox, or what do you think? Is that even a good question? I don't know.
No, it's actually a very good question. I have a hard time believing you came up with it.
There's a book here, What to Ask People on an Interview Show.
This is the very 59. First thing I tell people. I have people calling and emailing all the time wanting my advice on starting a YouTube channel. And here's my advice. If you are starting a YouTube channel to make money, don't bother. Don't bother unless you have the patience of Job, because the chances are you're probably never going to make money directly from YouTube. Now, you might make it like I do from other sources. I make very little off of my YouTube videos, but I make a very good living using those videos as marketing tools to bring money in.
Oh yeah, so, AdSense money is zero.
Well, AdSense money, I think I made $14 last month. I'm going to go buy a Starbucks later when my check comes.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the old business adage. If you're starting a business to make money, don't start that business, because chances are you won't. Right. The money may come, but you've got to be willing to put in the time and effort. And the same way online, we see people in the Tube Ritual group all the time. Well, I put up a video and I got 3 dislikes and I only got 4 views and I'm really getting disheartened. Well, get the fuck off. I don't I'm sorry.
No. I love it. I love it.
If you're going to, you've got 4 followers, you've posted 3 videos, and you're going to come into a group and whine.
Right.
please
give me a break.
Go
Right.
find someone to give you a hug, because it's not going to be me. So that comes down to your other question, which is passion.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, the Tim Knox Emotional Support Center is opening next week.
Let me tell you something. I would make the worst 911 operator. Yeah, you're on the bridge. Okay. And no.
Make sure you bring a towel.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah. Call me when you dry off.
Yeah.
Well, one of my pet peeves, I just don't like whiners. But the other part of your question,
I love it.
The other part of your question was about passion.
Yeah.
If you don't,
because I get this all the time. I get this all the time.
Yeah. If you don't have the passion, don't bother, because you won't stick with it. People don't understand passion and money go hand in hand. You've got to have the passion to get started and stick with it and go through all of the crap for all of the years that it takes to finally get to where you're making money. If you're good at something, Tim, if you're good at something, but you're not passionate about it, will it sustain itself? Let's say I'm really good at accounting. I'm a master. I'm the Michael Jordan of books, right? Okay.
But I don't like it. I'm not into it. Should I leverage that because I'm going to make money? Or should I stop because my heart's not into it?
Let me tell you another.
I get that all the time, that question.
Let me tell you another true story. The point in my life when I was the absolute most miserable was the point in my life when I was making the absolute most money I'd ever made in my life.
Oh,
I had a house. I have a picture somewhere in my driveway. I had this big circular driveway. I had a Mercedes 500 SL convertible. I had a Lexus convertible. I had a Porsche Boxster. I had a Jaguar sedan, and I had.
Who are you, Ty Lopez?
Oh no, this was before Ty, and these were mine, and they were all paid for. I was literally making mid to
you didn't rent them
figures. No. And I was miserable. I had lots of money. I had lots of cool stuff. I was working my ass off 16 hours a day. I was on the road 4 to 5 days a week. I was dealing with people that I just couldn't stand. And let me tell you something, if you don't like your customers, you're not going to have a good time in business. So, it's one of those things. Do you want to get up every day and go to a job you hate just because it pays you money? You'd be amazed at how many people do that on a daily basis.
Oh,
I have a really good friend. His name is Larry.
My father
Wingett.
Was one of them. My father was one of those people.
Yeah. Well, my friend Larry Wingett put it all in perspective for me. I don't know if you know Larry, but he's written 5 New York Times best-selling books. He's a Fox financial analyst. He's one of the top speakers in the country. Just makes tons of money. And I was lamenting one day, I'm whining to him about, I got to go back on the road. And he said, why are you doing this? And honestly, Nez, I'd never asked myself why. I thought I had to. I had worked myself up to a standard of living that required this much, which required this much from me. And I swear to God, I can remember the phone call. Larry said, let me tell you something. Here's how I approach life. I work just enough to make just enough to pay my bills and have just enough to stick away where I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. It goes back to freedom. I do just enough to be free. And you know what? I sold that big giant house. I sold all those cars. I still live nicely, but I don't have to work 16 to 20 hours a day. I don't have to deal with people. So, they'll tell you money can't buy happiness. Money can buy a lot of cool shit, but it cannot buy happiness. I do not believe money can buy happiness. So, and if you don't have the passion,
cue the Beatles song, Can't Buy Me Love. Yep. Okay. So let me get to some
I feel like I'm just preaching here today.
No. Tim,
Brothers
this is awesome. By the way, everybody in the comments, how much do you love Tim? Give me a thumbs up emoji. He loves cartoons. He loves cartoons.
Oh my God. Send me a sticker.
We got to get into that too. Oh. Tina says my 10-year-old has a YouTube channel. This is a great comment from Tina that is just a few months old, and he has 12 subscribers, and he is thrilled with that. Yeah. Why can't we all see the world through a child's eyes? Yeah, 12 subscribers. That's 12 people willing to watch your content. That's awesome. Ted Wasco says, you still look miserable, Tim. Smile, smiley face. Robert says, happiness comes from within. Absolutely. Tim, yes. Enough money to, Tim Longwell says, enough money to pay bills and put away, then have freedom. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like, you know, I can't remember who said this, but I mean, yeah. Like
you can't name drop anonymously.
I'm done. Okay. This is anonymous. This is anonymous. Anonymous name drop. But thank you guys for the emojis. Awesome. Yeah. Give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying Tim. I think Tim's doing a great job, really dropping some serious value.
I'm going to be really upset if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to come and get you. This guy doesn't F around. Trust me.
Gut you like a deer if you don't like my video.
I had a similar story, Tim, when I was in my early 20s, you know, because I mean, let me just preface this. There's a lot of shit, and Tim can vouch for this, and so can my wife. There's a lot of things that I'm terrible at. But when it comes to talking and communicating, that's kind of like my forte. So I used to be a commodity broker trader, commodities.
Did
futures.
you really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, this was back in my, I think, 1920. I was still going to school, but I was making almost six figures by 23. And I was miserable. I hated it. I didn't like the clients. I didn't like the corporate, at least that specific corporate sort of environment. I didn't like the people I was working with. They were all narcissistic and a-holes. Every time my parents, I'm telling you right now, my parents, Tim, they were, and God bless them, I love my parents, but they were pissed. They're like, you're going to give that up? You could be making 200,000 by the time you're 25. And this is back in like the 90s, right? So, but I gave it up. I don't know what it was.
Can I say something about your parents here?
Yes.
Because they come from the same generation as my parents.
Yes.
I come from, you know, I was born and raised in the middle of nowhere, Alabama. I mean, literally, you would go to the middle of nowhere and turn left and go 10 miles. And that generation, they were all about finding a good job and hanging on to it until you died. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
That's what, in my household, college was never mentioned, ever. I didn't even think about going to college because the way that I was raised is, you know, you tried to graduate high school. If you did, that was great. I was the first one in my family to graduate. But you were supposed to go out and look for a good job. And now their definition of good job is steady work that you could hang on to regardless of what it paid.
Yeah.
And that was the mentality. You know, I can remember when I started my first business, I had a good job working for Boeing Aerospace. And I remember telling my mom that I was going to quit that good job to start my business. And my mother, who loves me more than anybody in the world, went, well, they'll take you back, won't they? And I dedicated a book to this woman. I'm like, Mom, I'm not going to go back. They're not going to have to take me back. But really, really quickly, this is a great example of that. I had an uncle who he worked in a garage recapping tires. Now, if you don't know what, they don't do it anymore, but you remember this, Nez, back in the day, they would take an old worn out tire, they would trim off the tread and they would put new tread. They'd literally glue new tread on. And there were these machines,
instead of replacing the tire.
Instead of replacing the tire.
Yep.
And you had these machines that would pop the tire onto the wheel. My uncle had lost like 4 fingers on each hand from this job. Okay. Now he worked at this job from the time he was 15 until the time he was 60. We had a retirement party for my uncle and I'm talking to him and I'm like, wow, you were there 45 years. He goes, oh, that was a good job. And I said, really? Well, you must have been, after 45 years, you must have been really making good money. I was making almost $12 an hour.
Wow.
I'm like, you've been there, you know, because when he started, literally, he started for $1 an hour.
Oh my
45 years later, he had increased his salary, what, 1,200 fold?
Yeah.
But in his mind, that was a good job. He was so proud of the fact that he managed to hold on to that job for 45 years. And that's the same mentality that my parents had and your parents had. When you go to your parents as a 23-year-old kid and say, hey, I'm going to quit this job because it's driving me crazy, they can't fathom why you would do that. That's why old people are so miserable. They're just,
hey, that's a good title for a book.
That's my next one.
So Tina, thank you for that, Tim. That's a great story about the sort of generational sort of disparate gaps and how different mindsets, different thinking, and how you have to adapt. I think you need to adapt to the current kind of model of how we conduct ourselves, how we conduct business, and so forth. Tina says, I have to go to get to the kids' school, so quickly tell me about the threesome show y'all have coming up. Tim says, okay, we're going to get to that right now, Tina.
The threesome show?
The threesome show, yes. Okay,
it's
that's
a
going to be on the
show.
Make sure you have protection.
I don't.
Tim,
please, can we not call it the threesome show?
The threesome show.
I mean, you're a very handsome man, but gambling, no.
I'm open. I'm open to new ideas. No, okay. So
I'm doing
Tim
a threesome with Nez and Gamlin.
Yeah. Oh God. Tim Longwell says, where should I send Tim my address for him to come get me when I don't enjoy his content?
You're the guy.
Robert says, Tim reminds me of Forrest Gump, a la freaking Bama. A la freaking Bama.
A la freaking Bama.
Tina says 3 men and a joke. Yeah. You can say that again. All right. So should we, Tim, we've already reached the 49-minute mark. Should we, it
I
feels like
ditched a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, everybody pretty much has. So should we tell them? Should we tell them? Should we divulge? Should we disclose?
Why don't you break the news? I know you're dying to.
Oh, you son of a gun. You're going to put this all on me. Okay, fantastic. I have no problem with that. Ladies and gentlemen, NEZNATION.
We're going to do a threesome. Tim
Knox, Mr. Steve Gamlin, both of them have now been on the show. Steve was on the show a couple weeks ago. It was a fantastic show. All of us, bringing our expertise, bringing our vision, bringing what we've gone through within the online space. It's called Bite Me.
I actually think this is from the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. So.
No, it's not. Is it really?
Yeah.
Stupid is and stupid does. Okay. So 48 seconds. Robert says 48 seconds with Tim, Steve, and Nez. Can I get this out, please? Okay. So in all seriousness, is that even possible right now? So we're doing a show where the three of us are going to be creating a podcast, a video cast that we can repurpose on YouTube. It's a show about digital entrepreneurship. It's a show about bringing our backgrounds, bringing context, bringing our experiences, and helping and sharing and inspiring, much like NEZNATION Live. I mean, not that much different, really.
Better.
Well, that goes without saying.
Much better.
Much better. I didn't feel I had to say that. But Three Woodchucks, yeah, Ted Wasco. So we did a test run, and then we actually shot our first introductory inaugural launch show, and it was awesome. I really feel passionate about it. I feel really inspired by it. The ideas are cooking in the noggin. And we've already got some great ideas for the first 2 or 3 shows. And this is something that we're going to be probably launching, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, in the next couple of weeks, if not sooner.
Yes.
And we're going to be creating a site. We're going to be creating a channel. We're creating a Facebook business page. And I'm very, very excited about it. And I think here's what's really cool about this show is it demonstrates the power of leveraging content into multiple formats, multiple streams, and getting more bang for your content, basically, right? Because we're going to be creating a podcast, but we're shooting it in video through a meeting conference tool, and we're going to be creating a YouTube channel. We're going to be doing Facebook Live promos for like really quick 10-minute, 15-minute, where the three of us jump on, we answer questions. Tim, talk about the Talking Dead that you were mentioning. Do something, Tim, will you? What am I, a full-time employee?
I'm modeling glasses. I'm like, do those look good on me?
They all look terrible. That's not going to fix that face, okay?
Hold on, do those look good on me?
Where's your bottle, your Coke bottle?
Did those look good on me?
Oh my, no, not those.
These are my King Human glasses.
No, anything but those.
No, what we're doing, the Digital Entrepreneur Show, as Nez said, is a show all about digital entrepreneurship. The tagline is, we will teach you how to start, prosper, and grow your own online business. Be that YouTube, website, blogging, whether you are selling physical products, etc. So we're going to encompass all of that in the show. Now, it's really going to be a content machine because we are going to do a weekly 30-minute recorded show. But what Nez was referring to with the Talking Dead is we're going to do the Talking Dead model, whereas we have the recorded show, but we're also going to do a live after show where we come on with you guys and talk about the things that we just talked about. We'll talk about what's going to happen on the next show. We'll then do a billboard live for the next show before it comes up. So it's going to be very much a mixture of live and recorded content that is video, audio, eventually transcribed for the blog. Hell, we may do t-shirts, coffee mugs,
merch, man. This is what this is. Isn't this the definition of entrepreneurial? This is the definition right here.
And you know
right?
what? If we make some money, it's okay. It's okay.
Hell yeah. Oh, it's more than okay. Tina says you're missing the feminine perspective. Was that you who asked this, Tina? Were you the same one that asked us the last time we went live? Because Tina's
pushing a woman on us.
Tina's actually a fantastic live streamer. We're going to have Tina. Maybe we'll have Tina as a guest on the show for sure. But hey, Tina, I am basically as feminine as they come. I'm the feminine perspective.
Tina, if
I'm
you
a
knew,
feminist. I have a lot of estrogen.
If you knew what Nez does when the camera is not on.
You don't want to know.
I mean, this is a guy, I mean, you have never seen an uglier woman in your life than that 5 o'clock shadow and a pair of stiletto heels. It is the stuff of nightmares. It is nightmarish.
You know, I played Scarlett in the high school adaptation of Gone with the Wind, and I thought I did wonderful.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I just
so I think what's really cool is, and Tim, I love what you said. Yeah, Rocky Horror style, exactly, Tina. What's really cool is
hey Nez, do you need to stand up and get that thong out of your ass?
Yes, I do. I've actually, it's all automated. A bot's taking care of that as we speak. So
I almost spit water on the webcam.
Don't do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. But here's what's really cool is by executing this show, by executing this content, we're actually demonstrating the true sort of nuances and the true sort of execution of what it means to really be a digital entrepreneur. So we're talking about meta. I mean, we're going all meta, right? Meta. Hey, Tim, you ignorant slut. Hey, Tim, you ignorant slut. Yes.
I love that. Exactly. Well, let me say something else, because we're not only, and you make a really good point there, we're not only going to talk about entrepreneurship and business, but we'll also get into the nuts and bolts and the mechanics of things. You know, for example,
tech
you
stuff.
and I are very heavily into YouTube, and we'll talk like this is my set, which looks really different when it's zoomed out like this,
when it's blue.
Or when it's blue. Yeah, I'm going to replace that thing as soon as we get off here. But we talk a lot about which mic to use, what camera to use, lighting, and we'll talk about the mechanics and the technical stuff. But we'll also talk about technique. How you can improve your online presence or create a persona on your YouTube video, or how to do the podcasting, what have you. So it's going to be, I think, a really good show. And I think a mixture of the live aspect and the recorded aspect is just going to make it that much better.
Yeah.
It'll be much better than this.
It'll be much better than this. Trust me.
Because I'm in charge
for a real treat. This is really the prologue. This is really the sort of, if those before pictures and the weight loss, advertisements, this is the before.
Yeah.
And then our show's going to be the after. But Robert says guests. Now we're going to be evolving the show. We weren't planning on, it wasn't necessarily an interview show. It was more like a podcast sort of model. However, I think, and Tim's really good at this, I know I am, and Steve definitely is as well. Are we malleable? Are we willing to adapt? Are we willing to evolve? It has to. It will naturally. Right now, Robert, we're not thinking of having, guests on the show, but is that something that we're going to be not open-minded to? Of course not. Absolutely. We're going to be open-minded to that in the future. Right now, it's strictly podcast, video cast, but here's what's really cool, Robert and Tina, is when we do the 15-minute, 10-minute live sort of talking dead model of the Digital Entrepreneur Show, you guys can join us. This is what's really cool, is it's all about the interaction. So the show is going to be a separate category, and then the live broadcast that we're going to do weekly to kind of talk about it, discuss it, what was working, what wasn't working. We can do some type of model where we have guests hop in. We're going to obviously be taking your comments. We're obviously going to be listening to our audience. And this is another thing too. I tell my students this all the time, Tim. Yeah, absolutely. Robert says, so I'll tell Gary V he can't come on then. Yeah.
No, we don't. Gary. Fuck him.
Screw Gary. Tina says, I'm looking forward to the show. Yeah, thank you. Absolutely, dude. But here's another thing too. Here's another thing that's really cool is that I lost my train of thought. I had it. What was the thing that was really cool?
That
Tim?
sucker runs off the rails so many
That sucker
times
runs
a
off the
day.
rails. So,
Let me just say something here about
I lost it.
guests.
It'll come back. It'll come back.
The show itself, the core show, is going to be Nez, Steve Gamlin, and I. Will we have guests? I would imagine at some point we probably will, if they are pertinent to what we're talking about. For example,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, Brian G. Johnson, who is a good friend of all of us, and I think one of the top YouTube gurus. If Brian wants to come on and talk about the specifics of how to market and improve YouTube videos, we may have him on one day. It's not going to be a regular thing. It's not going to be an interview show. It's not going to be an on fire type thing. What we're looking at, every show is going to be thematic. We're going to have a topic that we're going to talk about, and that topic is going to be determined by the audience ahead of time. And we will focus on one topic. And the reason we do that is I get so tired of watching shows that are just all over the place.
Yeah. Like this one?
Like this one, especially this one. I can't believe I got to call my agent. And what the hell?
I just got a text from my executive producer. We're being canceled right after the show.
Well, that was fun while it lasted.
But I mean, Tina, we do a theme of live streaming. Tina's definitely an expert in that. Robert is a live streamer, all around digital entrepreneur as well. So yeah, I mean, this is something that we're open to, but right now, as Tim said, we're focusing on a certain theme, a certain program where we're going to be divulging and disclosing and discussing, serving our audience. And this is what I was going to say before it whistled out of my noggin, if I may, Tim. It's all about serving the audience. And I think this goes back to what we talked about earlier in the show. I try to tell my students all the time, don't think what you're going to get out of the customer. Right. Don't think what you're going to get out of the company. Don't think what you're going to get out of the organization. How can you serve them? How are you an asset to them? I think the reason Tim's successful, he understands his customers, he understands his audience, and he serves them. Hopefully my success is predicated on that as well. How do I serve my audience? How do I best complement what their needs are and solve their problems? You got to, nobody gives a rat's ass. I tell my students, I mean, you're not a special snowflake. I tell my students all the time, they don't like hearing this. Nobody gives a shit about you. The more you understand that, then you will start switching your mindset. Okay, nobody gives a rat's ass about me. How can I make them care about me? I become an asset. You need to become an asset for your audience. That's another thing you can throw in there, sub-definition of entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are assets to their customers, their audience, their subscribers, whatever it is.
I agree.
I just went on a rant, and I don't even know where the hell that came from.
Did that feel good?
I actually feel I have exorcised the demons.
Hey, it's been great watching your show.
Ladies and
Thanks
gentlemen,
for having me
this
on.
is the very last Nez Nation live show. It's been great talking with you. What an honor. And I can't think of a better person to really give us the Viking funeral than Tim Knox. Okay, so that's sort of the deal. Be on the lookout for that, guys. And Tim, I just want to say on behalf of the Nez Nation audience, as your host, Professor Nez, dude, you killed it, man. You crushed it. You were awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Is there anything? Oh, I got to do my questions. Really quickly. Holy shit, we're at the hour mark. So I've been doing this thing, which literally started this week.
Are you going to ask my favorite cuss word?
No, I'm not. This is James Lipton. I'm not doing that. I have 3 questions that I asked Erica, that I asked Alex, and I'm trying to implement this as something that distinguishes the Nez Nation show. Will you give me a break here, Tim? Can I ask you these questions, and then we'll get out of here?
Yes,
and then you can tell people where they can find you.
Please ask me.
The first question. I think this is obvious. The first question: what inspires you? What inspires Tim Knox?
If I can help just one person, I haven't done a very good job. What inspires me, honest to God, and this is going to sound hokey, but it's the truth: fun. God loved me. God takes care of fools and idiots like me because I can afford to do whatever I want. And when it stops being fun, I'll stop doing it.
Love it.
And that is my motto. If I'm not having fun, if I'm doing something that's just driving me up a wall, I'm going to stop doing it. So fun is the best thing to have.
That's a great answer.
After a 500 SL Mercedes convertible. which was just awesome. I missed that car.
Yeah, exactly. I missed that car. Hey, you can always lease one and then put it on Instagram and be Ty Lopez.
I could, yeah.
Yeah. So the second, that's a great answer, by the way. Fun.
Good.
And again, I think this also speaks to the fact that, you know, going back to my story about working at the commodity brokerage and Tim's story about being if you hate it, I don't know how you can be good at it. Even if you are good at it, you're not going to put your full, I mean, I'm up till 2 a.m. doing the promo card for this show. My wife comes down and says, "Why are you still up?" I look at the clock. This is the best feeling on earth. And I'm dead serious, Nez Nation and Tim, everybody. When I look at the clock and I see, holy shit, I need to get some sleep. It's 2 a.m. I'm shocked. And that's a good feeling. Yeah. Because I haven't been, when you hate what you're doing, the clock is your best friend. It's your mistress. You're constantly watching the clock. When can I clock out? When can I punch out? When you're doing the shit that you love to do, the clock is completely moot. It's invisible.
Let me say one thing really quickly. And this goes back
up.
to,
It better be quick.
God, you know, I appreciate coming on your show. This goes back to what we were talking about where, you know, I was the most miserable when I was making the most money. Well, guess what? I wasn't the only one that was the most miserable at that time. Yeah. My whole family was miserable. You know why? Because I was making them miserable. So if you're one of these people, oh, I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing all of this for my, I hate it. It makes me miserable, but I'm doing it for my family. Trust me, buddy, your family is miserable too. When I switched that gear and changed our life, you know, do you think my wife minded downsizing and getting rid of cars? She was the happiest I had ever seen her because I was happy. She said over and over, I have my old husband back. So you may say you're doing it for someone else. That's not a reason to do it.
That's beautiful. No, and that is all kidding aside. That is absolutely capital T true. We don't see how it affects our kids, how it affects our family, our loved ones. And let's be honest, being an entrepreneur, being somebody who's self-employed, and forget entrepreneur. I think that word has been tossed around so much, but just being somebody who is trying to do something for themselves, taking the risk, mitigated risk, as Tim says, and seizing the opportunity. You know, you're never really off the clock. I mean, you're never really off the clock. You have to kind of manage that yourself because you don't have somebody punching you out. So your family can be really affected. And I get it if you love it, and I love it. But yeah, I need to make sure that I spend quality time with my family, and that's a whole nother episode. We'll do that.
You know, during that time, there were many years where my family went on vacation and I didn't. I stayed to work in the business. And you know, looking back now, I was an idiot. I missed, you know, so many good times and good things, but that was the mindset that I was in. I was in the amassing mindset. I wanted to amass more money and more stuff. And I was willing to sacrifice everything to do it. So
Tim, you have no idea. And all joking aside, this has literally happened to me a couple of times already. And if I'm really honest, you know what? Maybe more than a couple of times. Yeah. You've kind of, I love the way you said that, man, because we have a vacation coming up and my wife was like, you don't have to come. I'll go with, you know, she was going to go with my mother-in-law and take the kids. She's like, I know you're super busy. And I said, no, exactly. No, this is what I told her. I said, I need to go. I need to go because I'm realizing I love doing this and I'm all in on this. And it is a 24/7 kind of gig sometimes, but shit, I'm going to blink and turn 90 and go, where did my kids go? Where did my family go? So you're right, Tim. Really, really beautiful. I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting to even go down this road. This is what I love about
I can
the
be
show.
Heartfelt, you bastard.
Boy, well, you certainly hide it well. No, that was really cool. Honestly, that was really super cool. I love that you said that. Yeah. So the second question that I have here is, what is your biggest concern in the digital world right now, in the entire business world? What's the one thing that you feel really concerned about, if there is anything?
You know, I don't know if it's a concern. It's just that how fast things change and how quickly things can change. And one of the things that really concerns me is a lot of the online business models are built on other people's platforms. For example, I had a thriving Kindle direct publishing business going. We were cranking out 10, 20 grand a month, and Amazon closed our account without reason or justification. with no recourse whatsoever. I see this happening to people who are on eBay. I'm talking $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month businesses shut down overnight simply because the entrepreneur built their business on someone else's platform. That's what scares me, is as technology progresses, we actually lose more control. I mean, right now we are recording this on someone else's platform,
right,
and it could just go away.
right.
You know, all of our videos, YouTube could just go away. It
Right.
could happen, or they could shut you down. So that's the thing that really concerns me the most, is as we get more technologically advanced, we tend to rely on it to a greater degree, and we lose control.
And this is a really big topic with a lot of, I've seen on a lot of different, you know, I hate to use the word influencer, but a lot of people who've been doing this a long time. They've been talking about don't rent on somebody else's land, right? You know, you got to have your own property. And, you know, this self-hosting, doing stuff on your own website. Hey, Carender, nice to see you. You know, having legitimacy in your own kind of entity, I think is something that's a big topic for our show. We should be talking about that too, Tim, because that's a great answer. I think that YouTube could literally just say bye-bye. Facebook could literally say, I don't think it's likely, but guess what? You need to prepare. If you're serious about what you're doing.
Even if YouTube doesn't shut down, your account could be shut down. Right. Or you could be hit with copyright notices, and your videos look what's going on YouTube right now. The big guys on YouTube have seen their revenue go down 75% because advertisers have taken a walk away from YouTube. You know, you've got someone like PewDiePie who made $15 million last year. You know, God love him, but his revenue is off as much as 80%. So, you know, again, when you build your house on someone else's foundation, you lose control. Now, I'm not saying don't do that. We have to. YouTube is where the traffic is, but a lot of times you want to be prepared. You know, a lot of YouTubers are now moving over to Twitch, which is going to end up having issues as well. Right. You know, eBay used to be the #1 sales platform. Well, now it's Amazon. Right. But, you know, it's, I don't want to say it's a house of cards, but it's kind of a house of cards.
And how important is it then? How absolutely necessary is it to be adaptive, right? I mean, this is, I mean, you know, here, I'm going to drop a name. Okay. You know what? I'm not going to drop a name, but anyway, let's move on. Yes. Because we are running out. Thank you, Tina. Not sure you can afford not to risk it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Tina. Yep. So, okay. The last question, Mr. Tim Knox. I think we're really going to get deep here. At least I hope.
Put on your waders.
What is the one thing? This is a question I even ask my students too when I start a semester, and I've been asking of my clients, and I've been asking of people who come on my show. What is the one thing in your entire life? It can be anything, professional, personal. What is the one thing that you have picked up that has stuck with you through the ages? It can be anything, something your grandfather told you, something you learned on the job, something you learned personally. What is the one thing that you can share with the Nez Nation audience that has stuck with you and has helped you through good and bad?
You know, it's really a good question. It's a good question. I'm thinking, you know, I am one of those people who I get motivated when people tell me I can't do something. Okay. Nice. If you want to light a fire under my ass, you tell me I can't do something. My dad, who, and we won't go into that relationship other than to say my dad was an asshole, told me, and this goes back to the good job thing. He told me when I was a teenager, boy, you better hope you find a good job or you'll starve to death. And I'm like, well, that's not a very nice thing to say to a, you know,
thanks for the encouragement, Dad. Yeah. Hey, Dad, any more words of encouragement?
Well, that was his, and again, I don't want to get into psychoanalyzing my old man, but his thing was, you know, I was a smart ass teenager. I talked back, I gave trouble, you know, and, you know, in his mind, he's like, you better find a job and you better hang on to it or you'll never amount to anything. Right. Well, hey, Dad, let me take you for a ride in my red Mercedes, which I still miss. but that's
how many times have we mentioned? Yeah, how many times have we mentioned the damn red Mercedes?
I have a screensaver back here. But no, in all seriousness,
Tina said we might become an ambassador. You should be a sponsor.
The greatest motivating points of my life were when other people were telling me I couldn't do something. You know, when I quit that good job to start my first business, and my mom, you know, will they take you back? Or my boss, when I went in to turn in my notice, you're crazy. You're going to quit. You can't, you'll be back. I never went back. You know, I would have done anything and everything to avoid going back. So a lot of my success has been built on proving other people wrong, I guess. So, but that's it. You know, I love reverse motivation.
Would you then say, Tim, that your father was maybe your biggest influence?
No. My father was a drunk.
Okay. I was trying to get all like, you know, 360.
No,
that didn't happen.
Don't even bother going there. My old man, but here's the thing. He had like a 7th grade education, and he was just a bitter guy. He was a drunk. He was just bitter. But a funny story is he decided he was an electrician by trade, and he was going to start his own electrician business. So he comes home one day, and he had this old powder blue Chevy van. Ooh. And that was his work truck. Well, he decided he was going to paint that van and stencil Knox Electric on the side of the van.
Okay.
He comes home one weekend with a case of Budweiser and a case of red spray paint. And he proceeds to go in our backyard. We lived way out in the country. We had no neighbors. He proceeds to get drunk and spray paint his truck red. And then he gets these stencils, and he's going to put Knox Electric and the telephone number on the side. He was so drunk, he spelled it Knox Eclectic. And I don't think he ever noticed, honest to God. But
I love it.
He was a failed entrepreneur. But anyway, enough of this frivolity.
Well,
Thanks
what I was thinking.
Listening.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
I have to go.
Well, it reminded me of the reason I asked, maybe because you said you were spurned by your fathers.
Yep.
Because it reminded me, and you're an author, so I know you know who Charles Bukowski is.
And I love him.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he's talk about a no BS guy.
Yeah.
But in an interview, he said, you know, his dad beat the shit out of him. His dad was abusive. All this stuff, and his dad, they fought all the time, and he said in an interview, it was so interesting. He said, my father taught me endurance. My father taught me pain, what pain truly meant. And then he went on to say, actually, my father was my greatest literary teacher because he taught me how nobody gives a shit about you and you need to fend for yourself. And I thought that was so interesting because I have, you know, I love my father, and Dad, if you're watching, love you. You know, he sometimes watches the show. But, we've definitely had some of these. We've battled, you know, and we've had our confrontations and, you know, father-son relationships are funky to say that put it mildly.
My dad, I've seen that Bukowski interview. My dad taught me how to hit a mailbox with a beer bottle.
There you go. Hey, that's not bad. That's got to come in handy somewhere.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I was hell on the baseball diamond in high school. If we were playing with beer bottles.
Oh, that's beautiful, Tim. Thank you so much. My mentality with my kids is this, Tina says. You are young. Try whatever you want. If it fails, try something else. If it succeeds, stay with it until you don't love it anymore and do something else. I love it. Great. Very
advice.
Nice. Always be willing to do something else. Great stuff, Tina. Tim says, never take no as an answer. And if you can't have fun, don't go. Beautiful.
There you go.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been an unbelievable audience. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, everybody, for your comments and your engagement. I love it. Tim loves it. If you're new here, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much. Don't forget to comment. Leave comments down below because I will come back and answer them. I know Tim will. Tim doesn't do anything, so he'll come back.
Hey, if you do leave comments, make sure they're nice because I'm sensitive.
You can shit on him all you want. No, I'm kidding.
We're back to the webcam thing.
So leave those comments below. If you haven't liked our business page here at Professor Nez, go ahead and hit the follow so you'll always get notified when we go live. Tim is going to come and leave in the comments all of his information where you can find him. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got a website. He's got all sorts of businesses, all sorts of areas. And plus, don't forget, Nez Nation, our new show, the Digital Entrepreneur Show with Tim Knox, Steve Gamlin, and yours truly, Professor Nez. That's coming out very, very soon. Be on the lookout for that. A lot of exciting things. I call this the summer of fun, the summer of lovin', the summer of madness. Don't get that twisted. No threesomes here. But it's going to be an awesome summer. I'm really looking forward to working with these two guys. These two guys are just like, I mean, like dangerously talented people, dangerously talented. So I'm really excited. I feel blessed to work with these guys. So keep on the lookout for that. Again, thank you, Tim Knox, for being on the show. You were awesome. You provided some serious, serious value. I think all of you guys you're probably going to want to watch this show at least a couple of times, hopefully more than 48 seconds. And you'll get a real treat out of this. I had a blast. I hope you had a blast, Tim. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful, wonderful day. This is your host, Professor Nez, saying thank you and good afternoon. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.